Where the line blurs was about recognition. The terms of want was about choice. Persona non grata is about curation, about the versions of her he will allow and the versions of himself he refuses to acknowledge. Nothing that follows is accidental. Temptation. Chapter 3. Persona non grata. Alexis and Courtney attended 4 sessions of the Dominatrix and Sensuality classes. The Dominatrix program layout was as follows. Week 1, Foundations, Ethics and Safety Understanding Safe, Sane, and Consensual, SSC, versus Risk-Aware Consensual Kink, RACK. Are you really sure you want to do this? I mean, I am down if you're down, but I can pass if you are unsure. Just saying. But Courtney could see that Alexis was 1,000,001 miles away in her excitement, that Courtney's vacillating didn't even register. Instead, Courtney focused on the upcoming classes. Week 2, Developing the Dominate Persona. Week 3, Technical Skills. 1, Impact and Sensation. Week 4, Technical Skills. 2, Restraint and Space. Week 5, Psychological Domination and Specializations. And Week 6, The Business of Domination. Negotiations include spotting red flags and emergency protocols that might require first aid, and for sure recognizing physical distress. Class 1's content description almost derailed Courtney, however. Seeing how Alexis was completely adamant about upending her humdrum love life, she kept her internal protest to herself, only gently casting mild concern to the wind. Lexi, Courtney rasped. Spotting red flags and first aid. Why do we need to know first aid, and who are we applying red flags to? Then, with mild resignation, I don't know, Lexi. Are you really sure you want to do this? By the end of the second class, Alexis and Courtney were locked in. For the pair, each week was worth its weight in cost. Sitting in the director's office, waiting for Daejun to wrap up an impromptu call, Alexis scrolled through the academy's agenda for the 40th time. Her right leg bounced slightly with anticipation. Though she was in week 4 of the 6-week class, she was behind with homework. Stuck at the week 2 assignment, Developing the Dominate Persona, Alexis found that she did not know herself well enough to attach a title like Priestess, Schoolmistress, or Vampire. Thinking back to the class, the headmistress, as the class addressed her, reaffirmed that honing in on a persona takes time. Trial and error is normal until one lands on a persona that works for them. She reassured the room that no one should be in a rush to get this part pinned down, because this will be who you are with your clients. So being comfortable in that skin is highly important. Courtney was lucky, Alexis thought to herself. She has a boyfriend to bounce ideas off. I have no one, Alexis mumbled under her breath to the empty seat across from her. A deep sigh, and then another. I can't ask wifey for help with this. I could, but... Another deep and prolonged sigh. Daejun ended his conversation and returned to find Alexis in a psychological state that he was unfamiliar with. Her nervous energy was apparent, which told him that whatever she was focused on was not work-related, and that piqued his interest. By now, they had gone on several dates. All of them were very vanilla, very PG-13. Had it not been for the impromptu visit to the lingerie store outside of Busan, would the rating not have climbed from G to PG-13? On that third outing, the two decided to go shopping. Daejun assumed all women enjoyed the sport. As the pair traversed the massive mall, Alexis was visibly bored. She didn't speed walk to the nearest high-end handbag retailer. Clothiers and skincare boutiques were passed like they didn't exist for her. The practice was on repeat, so much so that Daejun assumed he'd given Alexis the impression that the shopping excursion was for him. It wasn't until they passed Agent Provocateur, a high-end lingerie boutique, did Alexis pause. She actually stopped and studied the storefront display. To the right of the featured apparel was a mannequin with a black lace corset with matching thong panty and garter belt. The signature card read, Mercy. Alexis mouthed the word. Daejun swore he saw the corner of Alexis's pouty mouth give a slight curl upwards. "Is something the matter?" Daejun asked. Alexis chewed her bottom lip. He could see her wheels turning. He sensed she wanted to go into the store but refused to give her a lifeline. He wanted to see if she'd ask him to accompany her. Of course he would, without protest. But for Daejun, their faux boyfriend arrangement was still a game to him. He earned her trust by empathizing with her and offering the boyfriend experience. But he would make her work for what she wanted from him. A high-end boutique like this, Daejun assumed that the prices would put a strain on her finances for sure. Because the visibility clause in the agreement clearly outlines the need to keep low profiles when out together, she would appear to be more of an executive assistant as they navigated public spaces than a girlfriend. His girlfriend for sure. Before Daejun could protest or accept any request from Alexis, she didn't ask anything. Daejun only saw the back of Alexis's head as she entered the store. Other than being black in a homogenized environment, Alexis didn't receive too many looks from staff or patrons, which were very few at that time of the day. Alexis made her way to the nearest sales associate, a young girl with eager eyes folding and fidgeting with items that were already in pristine condition. "Excuse me," Alexis said in English. "Yes," the all-too-eager sales associate replied. "How may I assist you?" "The Mercy, I would like to try that set." Alexis beamed, barely able to contain her enthusiasm. "The corset?" said the associate. "No, the set. I need to see everything. On." Alexis smiled. The tone of Alexis' voice confirmed for all within earshot that her request was final. The switch in Alexis's personality was immediate. Her outspokenness about what she wanted in that lingerie store surprised Daejun. "We have sets here and here." The store associate gestured to their left and right as Alexis followed the young lady around the store. Daejun circled to the right so that his position now faced the two women. He stood there, observing their interaction. "What size, Ms.?" "A US size 6. I've never shopped here, so I don't know what the equivalent would be." "Ah, no problem. Our sizes range from 1 to 5. For you, we have the full set in size 3. The associate smiled. "Okay. Wonderful." Alexis was almost childlike in her exuberance. "I can take these items to your dressing room." "Thank you," Alexis replied while scanning the store. An older associate saw the exchange between Alexis and the younger sales lady. She also noticed Daejun standing close by women and made a beeline from the register area to the young associate and whispered something in her ear. A moment later, the young associate returned to let Alexis know that she reserved the private viewing area. Not understanding exactly what that meant, Alexis thanked the young lady and continued to peruse the store. Daejun stood in silence. He was absolutely in awe at the predator hunting skills Alexis exhibited. Alexis spotted a piece with gorgeous blue ribbons and lace in the bra and suspender designs. "What is this set called?" Alexis spoke to no one in particular. "Dioni," was the reply. "I'll take it. But the bra." Alexis hesitated. "Would you happen to have 34DD? She leaned in, assuming Daejun was unable to hear her. He did in fact hear her, but his expression remained unchanged. In less than 10 minutes, Alexis had an arm full of lingerie, and she seemed to just be starting. With so much clothing, the young associate began to get the feeling that for all of her hard work, it might be in vain. After all, the prices for a lot of the garments cost more than the average person spends on underwear. For the sake of salesmanship, the young girl tried her best to match Alexis's energy. "This is our private viewing area." The space at the rear of the store was closed off with wood paneling partially decorated with black velveteen lattice cutout. The low-hanging chandeliers gave off a warm amber glow. The chairs for the waiting party were overstuffed, yet firm. Just enough fluff that your ass or thighs didn't get tired while waiting. "This way, sir. The room is private, so you can have a seat here while she tries on her selections." Alexis stopped mid-stride so abruptly that Daejun ran into the back of her. Excuse me, Ms., what did you say? Alexis spoke in perfect Korean. The gentleman can have a seat here. The girl gestured for Daejun to sit. Daejun stepped around Alexis, not waiting to be asked twice. She also handed him an oversized, ornate pager with the number 3 on it, which, as it happened, coincided with the number on her name tag, as well as the room number. If you need assistance, just press this, and I will be alerted. With that, the girl exited the space. Sir, Alexis started to say. No, not sir. Daejun corrected her. Alexis stepped back. Daejun. Alexis inhaled deeply, closing her eyes as she did so. You don't need to be here for this part, Alexis whispered, in case the staff were within earshot. When Alexis opened her eyes, Daejun was but inches away from her face. She hadn't heard him move, hadn't expected him to be so close that it made her flinch, instinctually stepping back 1 foot space. Daejun stepped closer, 1 foot space closing the gap, his hands still in his pants pockets. Daejun never taking his eyes off hers. He leaned forward so close that she could feel his warm breath against her cheek. The boyfriend experience, he whispered. And when he stood straight again, the cheeky smile on his face told Alexis something, though she wasn't sure what. The boyfriend experience, she repeated. With reticence, Alexis gave in. After all, it was what she wanted. Someone she could share intimate moments such as this one. Alexis's fake smiled. But over the last month that they'd spent time together, Daejun had observed her long enough to recognize it when he saw it. Have a seat, sir. I mean Daejun. Daejun could see the blush spread across Alexis's cheeks, and just like that she pulled the sliding panel behind her. Daejun sat, unsure of what to expect. He thought he escaped the deep-sea shopping that women tended to enjoy. He thought Alexis different, and somehow that unnerved and confused him until landing in Agent Provocateur. Daejun nodded to himself. She has great taste. His internal dialogue racked his brain. Clearly, she'd known about this store. Why would they accidentally end up there? This is only date 3. Daejun fidgeted in his seat, brows knitted together. How long had she been planning this? You think I didn't clock that haul? Oh yeah. You've been planning for some time, Alexis Lane. Only the sound of the sales lady number 3's voice broke Daejun's inner monologue. Ms., do you need assistance? No, yes, no. I didn't call you, but now that you're here. Alexis's voice trailed off. Alexis had been dressed for several minutes, but didn't have the courage to step out of the fitting room. She tried on the Mercy first. It was the item that drew her to the store in the first place. The corset fits like a glove. The outfit in its entirety looked like it was designed with her specifications in mind. The only thing missing was heels. Platform, stiletto, nude, or red. Alexis loved a red stiletto. A black patent leather shoe with chain adornment. Her thoughts were everywhere. One thing that rang true that kept her feet planted where they were is that no one aside from Julian has ever seen her dressed this way. And even then, it wasn't like this. It was more of a make-out session to base number 2. How was she supposed to leave the fitting room and parade herself in front of her boss? Her pretend boyfriend. Anxiety started to bubble in her stomach. He'll just laugh, Alexis thought to herself. Alexis stood in front of the mirror with her head down, so unsure of herself. She liked the way she looked in the outfit, but would he like it? The question hung in the air. He'll probably think she's pitiful and ordinary. The saleswoman interrupted Alexis's thoughts again. May I come in? Sometimes these things just need a once-over to ensure the outfit is on properly. With that, sales lady number 3 opened the pane only a pinch and slid into the private space before Daejun could catch a glimpse of Alexis. He was tired of waiting, though he hadn't waited long. Due to his conspiratorial thinking, Daejun was irritated at the faux innocence Alexis constantly put before him. Daejun reaffirmed his assumptions to himself. She's no different. he said under his breath, just as saleswoman number 3 said, "Are you ready, sir?" Dae-jun could hear the woman cheerleading for Alexis. "You look amazing, Ms. Simply amazing. I am sure he'll like it." "Okay," Alexis stated under shaky breath. She cleared her throat and the saleswoman slid the panel open. Alexis stepped out barefoot and shy. Dae-jun didn't notice the outfit first. His gaze was on Alexis's face, that her eyes were downcast, that she chewed on her bottom lip with uncertainty and nervousness. She stood fidgeting with her fingers as her hands rested in front of her. "My goodness, you're shy," saleswoman number 3 teased. Dae-jun stopped what he was doing with his cell phone and stared in awe. He gave a sweeping glance once, twice, and a third time. He said nothing. Dae-jun told himself he recognized the shape of this moment. The quiet, the lowered eyes, the way women learned to look like something that could be taken without resistance. His gaze moved anyway, slow and deliberate, not asking permission, taking inventory. The way the fabric framed her, the way her body held itself as if bracing for impact. She wasn't offering herself. She was standing there to be judged, and that realization sent something dark and possessive curling through him. He didn't want to look away. He wanted the moment to stay exactly like this, her uncertainty, him in control of the seeing. The old warning whispered that this was how traps were set, but something refused to line up. Alexis wasn't angling toward him. She wasn't waiting to be rewarded. If anything, she looked like she expected the moment to cost her. And then the thought came, uninvited and bitter. Someone else would one day receive this without suspicion, without calculation, would be allowed to want her without turning it into a negotiation. The idea tightened his jaw. He didn't like losing things he hadn't agreed to give up. So, he swallowed the heat in his chest, mistook restraint for clarity, and held himself still, refusing to name the danger in the room in case it turned out not to be her at all. Alexis said nothing. The silence was deafening, filled with tension and awkwardness. Saleswoman number 3 broke the stillness in the room. "Is this the first time that the two of you are lingerie shopping? Ah, okay. I see. Sir, let me tell you. Your girlfriend has amazing taste. This piece is bold in ways but captures her femininity, the juxtaposition between authoritarian yet softness. I think she embodies that with this set. I will give you two a moment to talk about it, and if you find that you need assistance getting in or out of an outfit, page me. But for now, sir, if you can just take your hand off the pager button, I'll know that it's okay for me to leave." Saleswoman number 3 smiled politely. Dae-jun had been pressing the button for a full 5 minutes, and the woman had finally informed him that he'd been pressing it, with the saleswoman gone. Alexis noticed the silence and finally looked up. When she did there, he was staring, in shock, his lips partially parted. A pang of uncertainty began to root in her belly. Alexis wanted to call Courtney right then and there, but she remembered that she promised her that she would curb her lingerie spending. Alexis cleared her throat, her hands still intertwined in front of her. "What do you think, boyfriend?" A noticeable pause between think and boyfriend. Dae-jun jumped to his feet, his ears growing red. "You look nice," he managed to croak ever so slowly. Alexis stepped closer. She put her hands to her sides, trying to model the set. "The salesperson said it looks nice. I like it too," Alexis noted with effort. Since you are a guy. I don't think I look silly." This time her eyes found his. "Silly," Dae-jun spat out before containing his emotional regulation. "You look beautiful, Alexis." "Thanks," she whispered. You don't have to sit through all these outfits. It's a lot." Alexis disappeared before Dae-jun could protest. When she emerged again, she was fully dressed with an armful of garments in tow. Dae-jun felt like he'd been punched in the gut. He wanted to see her in every piece she touched, but he kept his protest to himself. At the register, Saleswoman number 3 was ready for the usual culling of items that tends to happen between the dressing room and the register. Alexis stood at the register with quiet anticipation, her eyes watching as each garment's cost pinged its sale. Quickly, the register display numbers climbed. Both sales associates watched Alexis's face for signs of sticker shock as the total climbed beyond $5,000. Daejun pinpointed this moment to be the one where Alexis would need him. His wallet, to be exact. He waited for the sugar-coated, "Oh wow, I had no idea it would cost so much." And then the cherry on top of feigned ignorance. "Babe, you don't mind paying for these, right?" By the time the final few pieces were in the process of being rung up, Alexis leaned forward. "Wait!" she exclaimed. Saleswoman number 3's expression cringed slightly. She saw this 4-figure sale commission withering away before her eyes. "Yes, Ms., is there something the matter?" Alexis balanced between one foot, shifting her weight to the other. "As a matter of fact," Alexis sucked her teeth, "the Litzia, I don't see a bra for the set, or for the Hallie. Is there nothing in my size in-house?" Panic washed over the salesperson. "No, Ms., we don't have your size in the store." Alexis and saleswoman number 3 checked the online shop, and to both of their horror, her size was sold out. Daejun observed the mini storm cloud brewing. Would this be the moment that Alexis turns to him to handle the situation? Saleswoman number 3 saw her sales commission vanishing before her eyes. "Would you like me to remove the panty and suspenders?" the young lady said in the meekest voice. "Oh no. You can keep going. Can you tell me if I can get a custom order for the bras?" The question stunned everyone at the register, except Alexis. When it pertained to her lingerie, she was dogged. 15 minutes later, after discussing customizations and purchase prices with their headquarters, saleswoman number 3 rang up the final item. The register displayed high 4-figure total. Daejun stepped closer to the counter, but did not indicate that he would pay. His hands in his pant pockets, his expression as cool and nonchalant as one with zero stake in the game. "How would you like to pay?" With all of the cautious enthusiasm the attendee's sing-song voice could muster. This would be the time Alexis would need him, Daejun thought assuredly. But to his surprise, "Card." Alexis handed over the muted black plastic, and just like that, the transaction was done. "You ready?" Alexis asked Daejun. She stood near the registers with several lingerie bags on either arm, with a smile as wide as any child's would be in a candy store. Daejun intended to pay for Alexis's purchase. Really, he did. But her failure to ask him for the money derailed his plan. The only thing left for Daejun to do was alleviate the baggage by carrying them to the car. And even with that act of kindness was a loss for Daejun. Alexis was on her way out of the store before he registered the missed opportunity to show up like a generous and considerate boyfriend would. And this made Daejun feel some kind of way. That was then, and this is now, and in the now, Alexis seemed to be working her way through something that she hadn't considered talking with Daejun about. He sat across from her and watched for the last few minutes as she mumbled something about needing help. Her fingers worked feverishly over the phone's screen, the whoosh of the outgoing message, and just as quickly, the ping of a reply. Daejun was used to seeing the contact wifey, and now there's this Minjun, the Minjun arc. Daejun didn't mean to look. That was the lie he told himself first. Her phone lit up on the edge of the table, face down, a pale blue glow bleeding across the marble like a bruise. He caught the name before he caught himself. Minjun, not a surname, no company identifier, no polite distance, just a name, familiar enough to be shortened, soft enough to be used without permission. His chest tightened. He told himself it was nothing, a colleague, a leftover from the dating apps she'd admitted to with that gentle, almost apologetic honesty he still didn't know what to do with. He told himself he had no right to feel anything at all. He turned the phone over anyway. Did you eat today? Call me later if your head gets loud. That was all. No flirtation, no heat, no invitation he could point to and dismiss. Just concern, the worst kind. Something sharp slid beneath his ribs. Not anger, not yet. Something colder. Something that settled in slow, methodical layers. He reread the message, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something easier to despise. They didn't. His mind did what it always did when it felt threatened. It began constructing a story. Min-jun became tall without evidence, patient, the kind of man who listened without interrupting, who didn't flinch when women spoke in half-sentences, the kind who let her talk herself empty and then stayed anyway. Dae-jun pictured Alexis on a couch that wasn't his, legs tucked beneath her, voice softer than she ever allowed it to be with him. He imagined her laughing, not the polite sound she gave him, but the unguarded one. The one he pretended not to notice she'd stopped offering. His jaw clenched. He had rules. He had boundaries. He had made it clear what this was, and more importantly, what it wasn't. And yet, she was giving something away. Not her body. That didn't matter. He could have dismissed that easily. It was the intimacy that cost him breath. Call me later if your head gets loud. Who the hell told him her head got loud? Dae-jun felt something dark curl in his stomach. Possession, sharp and uninvited. He didn't want Min-jun touching her. But worse, he didn't want him knowing her. Knowing the cadence of her moods, knowing when she skipped meals, knowing when she needed a voice to anchor her. That was supposed to be no one. That was supposed to be safe. He realized distantly that his fingers had tightened around the phone, that he was standing too still, that something had slipped out of alignment inside him. She had followed his rules. He knew that. She was careful in the way people were careful when they were trying not to lose something they hadn't been promised. So why did it feel like betrayal? Because some part of him had assumed, arrogantly, quietly, that if she needed comfort, she would come to him, even if he'd never offered it. His mouth tasted bitter. He set the phone back down, exactly where it had been, as if precision could undo the damage. He didn't mention it, didn't look at her, didn't let the jealousy show. Not yet. But something shifted. He would watch her more closely now. He would listen for pauses. He would measure her distance. And if she was already imagining a future without him, rehearsing it with someone kinder, easier, then he would end this first. He had always been good at leaving before he was left. What he didn't allow himself to consider, not yet, was the possibility that the thing burning in his chest wasn't fear of loss. It was regret, and it was already too late to pretend otherwise. DOM. Who's in training? Alexis should not have trusted him with the coursework. She had told him about archetypes with that open, earnest expression, the one that made him feel chosen in a way he did not deserve. He had nodded. He had even smiled. But he had not forgotten the name that had flashed across her phone days earlier. He hadn't meant to look. He had absolutely looked. Min-jae. No. He cut the name off in his own head. He had no right to know it, and no right to care. He was providing a service, a boyfriend experience, which meant he was supposed to be warm, encouraging, engaged. Instead, something tight and unflattering had taken root in him. Week 2 is archetype training, he said smoothly, sleeves rolled to his forearms, composed, controlled. You explore personas. She nodded. I haven't picked one yet. I know. His gaze moved over her slowly, not overtly hungry, but not neutral either. That's why we'll test them. She hesitated. Now? You agreed to role-play. He kept his voice even, professional, as if this were still harmless, as if he hadn't replayed that notification in his mind more times than he cared to admit. First, look. She stepped out in something soft, too soft. He stared, It wasn't the outfit that bothered him. It was the thought, intrusive and immediate. Did she look like this when she texts him? He straightened slightly. No, he said coolly. You're hiding. Her shoulders dipped just a fraction. He noticed, and instead of softening, he pressed. You look like you're trying to be agreeable. That wasn't part of the boyfriend experience. That was something else. Second look. Sharper lines. Cleaner silhouette. She stood straighter in this one. He circled her slowly, close enough to feel her warmth, close enough to smell her perfume. He shouldn't be this aware of her. Better, he murmured. But you're still waiting. For what? For someone to define the room. He didn't know where that came from. He did know why. Because he hated the idea that someone else might already be doing that. But he could not ask. If he asked who she talked to, she would know he had seen the phone. If she knew he had seen it, she would know he cared. And if she knew he cared, he would lose leverage, lose composure, lose face. Third look. When she came out the third time, something shifted. Her shoulders were back, her chin lifted. She wasn't apologizing for taking up space. His pulse reacted before his mind did. Walk, he said. She did. Slow. Intentional. He imagined someone else watching her like this. Someone who didn't have to pretend detachment. Stop. She did. Say something. What? Anything. She swallowed. You're early. The line hit him harder this time. He pictured her typing that to someone, smiling at her screen, waiting for a reply. His jaw tightened. Again. You're early. Firmer, closer. His throat went dry. He wanted to ask, who do you say that to? Instead, he said, this one is closer. To what? To someone who doesn't need reassurance. The words were sharper than necessary. She frowned slightly. Is that what you want? What he wanted was irrelevant. What he was contracted to provide was ease. Instead, he was dissecting her. He stepped back abruptly. Change. She nodded, confused. He flexed his hands once she disappeared down the hallway. He was not supposed to feel territorial. He was not supposed to care who texted her. He was supposed to be a controlled fantasy. Instead, he felt real. And he hated it. Second time's a charm. June told Alexis to come over without calling it an exercise. The apartment was dim, minimal lighting, intentional restraint. You didn't bring the clothes, he observed. You said another time. A beat. We're not doing costumes. She studied him. Then what are we doing? Her expression asked. Say the line again, he said. You're early. No, like you mean it. She straightened. You're early. He moved closer, close enough to feel the heat between them, close enough that he could see the faint rise of her pulse at her throat. Sit, he said. She blinked. Why? Because I asked. There. That wasn't boyfriend experience tone. That was command. She hesitated, then sat. The pause irritated him more than compliance would have. Stand. She stood. Turn. She turned. He watched too intently. June, she said carefully. Are we still role-playing? The question forced him to confront it. He was not playing a role. He was reacting. I'm showing you something, he said evenly. What? He paused. The honest answer hovered dangerously close. That I don't like not knowing who else has your attention. Instead, how it feels when someone else controls the tempo. Her eyes sharpened. That's not what we agreed to. He knew. He was breaching it. He was supposed to be attentive, validating, indulgent. Instead, he was cold, testing, measuring. You don't have to make this competitive, she said softly. The word competitive struck him. He had said nothing about anyone else, but she had sensed it. He forced a mild expression. Competitive with what? She held his gaze. With something you're not asking me about. Silence. If he asked, he exposed himself. If he stayed silent, He stayed ignorant. Both options bruised his pride. "Tell me to sit," he said abruptly. She hesitated. Then, "Sit." He didn't move. Again. Her chin lifted. "Sit." He lowered himself into the chair, slowly, looking up at her. This was safer. If she commanded him, then he wasn't losing control. He was allowing it. But when she didn't step closer, didn't soften, didn't reward him, something unsettled in him. "Come here," he said. "No." It wasn't defiant. It was calm. He stood. "You're backing out." "I'm noticing something." "What?" "You're not being my boyfriend right now." That landed clean. "You're being territorial." He went still. If he defended himself, he revealed too much. If he denied it, he lied badly. "I'm evaluating," he said finally. Her expression softened, but not in submission. "In a boyfriend experience," she said quietly, "you're supposed to make me feel wanted, not inspected." Silence swallowed the room. He had built this arrangement to maintain power. Now he was the one destabilized. She stepped back toward the door. "You don't have to compete with ghosts," she added gently. "Ghosts." He almost laughed. If only she knew the ghost was just a name on a screen. The door closed behind her. He stood alone in the dim light. He had wanted to toy with her, to control the narrative, to fire her eventually without emotional entanglement. Instead, he was irritated by a text message he had no right to see, and behaving like a man who was afraid of losing something he never officially claimed. Days later, Alexis had stayed late without really deciding to. The office floor was quiet in that way that felt borrowed. Lights dimmed, the city pressed against the windows, her screen the only real source of color. Her heels were kicked off under the desk, her hair half freed from its clip. Her mind still unsettled from the last time she'd seen Daejun. She told herself she was just finishing one more thing. Her phone rang. She answered without looking at the name. "Hey," she said, already smiling faintly. "You're up late too?" Minjun's voice came through warm and unhurried. "You say that like it's a surprise." "I'm still at work," she said. "Alone in the building. It's weirdly quiet." "Dangerous," he said lightly. "That's when your brain starts filing emotional paperwork." She huffed a laugh. "Too late. Did you eat?" There it was again, that small, grounding question. "Not really." "Alexis." She smiled at the tone. "I'll grab something on the way home." They spoke in fragments after that. Work. Nothing. Everything. Then she exhaled softly. "I think I let something drift out of the lane we agreed on." Minjun didn't interrupt. "I signed up for a boyfriend experience," she continued slowly. "Not an assessment." "Assessment," he repeated carefully. "It started feeling like I was being calibrated," she said. "Like I stopped being the client and started being the variable." Minjun let that settle. "That's not part of the contract," he said gently. Her throat tightened. "I kept wondering if I was too sensitive, if maybe I misunderstood." "You usually ask that when you didn't misunderstand," he replied. She stared at her desk. "I said no," she added quietly. "And he did stop. But it took a minute, and I shouldn't have had to fight to get back to neutral." "That matters," Minjun said. "Stopping matters. But so does the part where your body had to brace first." She closed her eyes. "You don't have to earn gentleness," he added. Her breath caught slightly at that. "I hate how steady you are," she murmured. "I practice," he said. "Very heroic of me." She laughed softly. Outside the glass. The elevator doors opened with a low mechanical hum. Daejun stepped onto the floor because unresolved things made him restless, because control disguised itself as follow-through, because he intended to clear the air. He heard her before he saw her. Her office was lit from within. door slightly ajar. He stopped. "I signed up for a boyfriend experience," Alexis was saying. The words struck clean. "Not an assessment." His jaw tightened. Minjun's voice, calm, maddeningly calm, drifted through the gap. "You don't have to earn gentleness." Something in Daejun's chest constricted. Gentleness. He had offered structure, authority, intensity. He had told himself that was valuable. Inside the room, Alexis laughed, light, unguarded. "I'm glad you're here," she said quietly. "Me too," Minjun replied. "Even if it's just like this." Daejun stepped back before she could see him. He didn't interrupt, didn't defend himself, didn't reveal that he had been watching her phone days ago, didn't reveal that he had already begun competing with a man whose name he technically did not know. He walked away with one realization pressing sharply against his ribs. Someone else was providing the boyfriend experience better than he was. Not through dominance, not through calibration, not through controlled proximity, just through presence. And for the first time since drafting that contract, he understood something he did not like. He was no longer in control of the emotional balance, and he could not even ask why. Daejun waited until morning. That was deliberate. Anything said at night would have sounded reactive, defensive, possessive. He refused to give himself away like that. Alexis had just stepped off the elevator when she saw him. Director John Daejun, composed, impeccable, as if the night before had not happened at all. "Ms. Lane," he said evenly. A moment. Her expression flickered, guarded but polite. They stepped into a conference room. Glass walls, neutral lighting, no intimacy, intentional. He remained standing. "I wanted to clarify something," he began, "regarding our recent exercise." She didn't speak. He appreciated that about her. She never rushed to fill silence. "I lost focus on the objective." The words were measured. "I allowed the structure of the agreement to blur." Her brows lifted slightly. "Blur how?" He held her gaze. "The arrangement is designed to provide you with a controlled experience, not to impose my personal framework onto it." Personal. He chose that word carefully. I deviated. There it was. Not sorry, not emotional. Precise. She studied him. "You were testing something," she said quietly. He didn't deny it. "Yes." A beat. "That was not part of what you contracted." The word contracted landed clean between them. Her shoulders relaxed just a fraction. "I didn't mind the structure," she admitted. "I minded the tone." He absorbed that. Understood. Silence stretched. She searched his face. "Are we continuing?" His jaw tightened slightly. "Yes. Professional, clear, steady, but with corrected parameters." That almost made her smile. "Corrected parameters," she repeated. "The objective remains your exploration," he continued, "not my evaluation." This time she did smile, faint, cautious. "Okay." He inclined his head once. "I appreciate your candor," he added. That part was real. She turned toward the door, then paused. "Thank you," she said, "for recalibrating." The word struck him more deeply than it should have. Recalibrating. He watched her leave. Only once she was gone did he exhale. He had not mentioned the phone. He had not mentioned the call. He had not mentioned the man whose voice had threaded through her laughter. He had restored control. On paper. But something had shifted. Because now he knew. She expected gentleness, and he had just promised to deliver it. That wasn't strategy. That wasn't leverage. That was choice. Daejun studied his reflection in the glass. Not the executive, not the negotiator, not the man who always entered rooms prepared to win, just himself. Most women didn't correct him. They adapted, or retaliated. Alexis had simply told the truth. I minded the tone. The simplicity of it unsettled him. He turned off the conference room lights. The exercise would continue. This time, he intended to do it right. I hope you enjoyed Chapter 3, Persona Non Grata. Before you go, here are 4 questions for you to think about. 1. Which version of Alexis unsettles him the most? The soft one, the confident one, or the one he can't quite read? Why? 2. Is Daijun bored? Or is he down bad and doesn't know how to process it? 3. On a scale of 1 to HR violation, how dangerous is this man right now? 4. At the end of the chapter, when he promises to do it right, do you believe him? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.